Today, I will be talking about Valorant weapons and the buffs and nerfs that I would like to see in the game because there's some really unbalanced stuff that is ongoing for years. So let's start with the Marshal. There is a reason why Flashback from DRX buys a Marshal every single time they win a pistol round and then just continues to no-scope people across the map. The gun has broken no-scope accuracy and deals 100 damage to the body, effectively making it a shotgun that should not be a shotgun because it's a sniper rifle but has such an unbelievable accuracy with the no-scope, it just makes no sense. So I would like to see heavy nerf of the no-scope accuracy on the gun, similar to what it is, for example, on the Outlaw or the Operator, because right now, this gun, when you have the cash, it kind of makes no sense almost to buy a Sheriff, because this gun deals double the damage to the body, right, and has a one-tap ability across the map with a scope as well. So I think that clearly needs to go. Second weapon, Odin. After Champs, there was a big discussion how Brock was using Odin and the gun is broken apparently, and I do disagree in general, but I think the gun needs a little bit of tuning. Now, I would up its cost just from 3.2 to 3.4 because I think it's a little bit too accessible too early in the game. Now, I do think there's a problem with the Odin, but it's solely connected to the maps. Maps like Corrode have just too many walls that can be shot through from very different angles that people cannot predict, and also allows to kill people who are defusing or planting the spike without any counterplay. Now that's something that I don't like, and I think the maps should be looked at, not the gun itself, because the gun itself is not really that powerful and it's easy to counter because you know the gun has to be stationary to be even remotely accurate. But I do think a slight price nerf would be, I think, okay. Third weapon, Spectre. Even with the most recent buff to Spectre, I think it lacks identity or a place in the metagame. Stinger is so much more inexpensive than the Spectre and is just better in close range, but it's also better medium and long range. It's more accurate with the right click on the long range and it has better fire rate, so it allows you to get a better time to kill. Spectre, on the other hand, competes also with the Bulldog because it's right between those Stinger and the Bulldog when it comes to the price range. So why would you buy Spectre when long range, medium range and is covered better by Stinger and the Bulldog? It makes no sense. So I would like to see a buff to the Spectre, but with a price. I would nerf the price of the Spectre to 1800 credits, but alongside this nerf, we would change few things. First and foremost, improve majorly the accuracy on the gun's medium and long range when it comes to shooting with a burst. So I don't want the full auto to be accurate, I just want to be burst accurate when it comes to shooting 3-4 bullets and repositioning. Now alongside that, you could remove the movement penalty from aim down sights, which would allow you to be a little bit more mobile during a duel, long or medium range, while having the better accuracy, which would promote you taking those duels with this gun. And the last change I would like to do to Spectre would improve its bullet penetration for the walls from low to medium. I think the bullet penetration would just be nice to shoot through some walls to destroy some piece of utility like cipher traps or other piece of utility from any other sentinels, and also would allow you to take some gunfights in a more fair way against the rifles like a Bulldog or a Phantom, for example. Next weapon, Guardian. I think historically this was the most troublesome weapon for the developers to find a niche for, and they still struggle with it. The gun started at 2.7k, which was direct competition to Vandal and Phantom when it didn't even have heavy penetration on the bullets. So historically speaking, I think this gun didn't really find a spot, and there's also a reason why it's the second least used weapon in VCT, well, because the other one is the Ares. But Guardian doesn't really fit anything, and now even with the smallest price ever, which is 2250, players don't really choose it. I do agree that it's a very hard gun to balance because it might be overpowered or underpowered very easily, so I would like to see just a small buff. That buff would be buffing the damage from 65 to 70 damage. Now the reason for that is I would like to see some kind of synergy with other guns in the game, most likely with the Vandal, which is the most common weapon used in the entire game in both ranked and in VCT. I know Phantom is better, but I thought this might be a nice change. The reason for it, if we deal 70 damage to the body with the Guardian, then 80 damage from a Vandal combined is lethal, which could be a nice kind of a spot for the gun when it comes to getting kills with the body shot, even though the opponent already have been damaged by the other guns in the game. So I feel like that could improve its efficiency overall without changing a lot of its balancing. Alongside though, I would like to see more bullets in it, from 12 to 15. I think it's a rifle, it should have a little more bullets to not be in a spot where you feel like you shot through bullets through the wall and now you have to reload because you have like 4 or 5 bullets and you are not ready for a gunfight against the rifles like Vandal or Phantom. Next gun, Bucky. Now this was a nightmare to balance for the developers in the past, and it comes to a point where the right click of the Bucky got nerfed so much that it just doesn't make any sense to use it, because in 99% of the cases the left click will be more reliable, more consistent, and probably also dealing more damage than the right click. There's such a small difference between the efficiency of the left click and right click. It makes no sense during the game to make ever a decision to right click or left click, because it's never gonna be an educated guess which one should be better, but in most cases actually the left click. So I would not like to even balance it, just remove the right click so people don't have to think which button to use on this gun. If you want to keep it balanced in current way and not really touch its balance, just remove the right click on it. Alright, and now the last gun, and this is gonna be a big one, Outlaw. Now I think this gun just doesn't belong in the game completely. It serves no purpose, and it feels like it was added to the game because the developers were annoyed by the constant complaining of the community that people are just abusing half shields and there needs to be something to counter it. So the devs were like, well, let's just add the gun that just deals lethal damage to the players with the small shield, but it also deals 140, which makes it lethal to almost everyone in the game after they take any chip damage. Now, there's a problem with balancing this gun. There is a scenario in this game that should never exist. Team A wins the pistol round, but somehow there's one player on Team B that got enough kills or just didn't buy enough on the pistol round, so he buys an Outlaw on the round 2 after they lost the pistol round and ends up getting multi-kills with a gun that is a straight up better operator if the opponents don't have a big shield. And there's even, you know, a region shield added to the game, so the players who won the pistol round are incentivized to buy the region shield or the small shield against the lower buy of the opponents to build up economy. Now, I think that's nonsensical, and there should never be a case that a situation like this arises, and it arises a lot. The reason why Outlaw doesn't have any relevant changes yet is because it doesn't get abused as hard in VCT circuit as it should be. And I voiced that opinion when the gun was released. I said it's completely overpowered, it should be abused much more, and I think players just didn't catch up yet, just like with my opinion on the Stinger, which I was trying to convince people to use it since 2021. Now, we all know how that ended, but the gun is still very good. And the same can be said about Outlaw. It is completely out of whack how this gun is still in the game, and there are rounds where a pro player will drop an operator and pick up an Outlaw because it makes more sense to use an Outlaw against a team that has not enough cash to buy 5 full shields, and instead they have to go for the small shields. How does this make any sense? It's just completely nonsensical, and because of that I would rather just remove the gun completely from the game. It just doesn't make any sense to have it here, or just make it more expensive than the operator and completely make it overpowered, so you spend like 6k for it, so it's much better than the operator. Has 2 bullets, lethal bullets, has, I don't know, more options when it comes to the scopes, or has even better bullet penetration, just whatever. At this point, I just don't believe the gun has a place in the game, and it's really weird that we have a new gun like this that doesn't replace something else in the game, because when you looked at the initial release of Valorant, every single niche of the guns was covered. There was not a single person on the planet when asked, oh, which gun do you think is missing in Valorant, would say, you know what, an operator with 2 bullets but just a little bit less damage than the operator, but for half of the cost. There's literally no one would say that, and the problem is that the developers were trying to solve a problem that doesn't really exist, and when it is now in the game, it just completely obliterates a lot of scenarios that just don't do much for the game. So yeah, remove Outlaw or just buff it to heavens. They make it more overpowered gun in the game, but also the most expensive. Hope you guys enjoyed my rant, and if you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments.